All right, what is up, everybody? Welcome to the Cubs Live podcast. I am your host, Kyle Malzahn, alongside here with one of my co-hosts, Mark Tellerico. And today we have a special guest coming on the show to discuss the Cubs and Brewers series with us. He's one of my buddies, and he covers the Brewers pretty closely. Mitch Luedtke, how's it going, my man?
It's going good, Kyle. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Baseball is back, which is a plus, even though, the Cubs haven't been performing well. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But thanks for coming on the show. Well, you got to be feeling good after last night's Brewers come back from behind win versus the Cardinals. Christian Yelich and Ryan Braun go back-to-back on back-to-back pitches to win it into the ninth. How were you feeling when that was all going down?
Yeah, I mean, anytime you have this lineup with Kane and Yelich at the top, followed by Braun and Shaw, I mean, there's really no game that's ever over. Our offense will keep us in most games, but I mean, down 2 strikes, 2 outs. Yelich kind of just got a hanging slider and took that out, and then it was more so like I was already celebrating at this point, and I turn around and I see Braun turn on a cutter that was hanging over the plate. So it's fun times in Milwaukee right now. So not trying to get too overexcited just because Brewers seem to always mess with our expectations, but it's been a fun start to the year.
No, yeah, and I mean, for a Brewer fan, you had that 2014 season where you guys were front runners and then totally collapsed in September. Last season, we as Cubs fans, we all know what happened. So yeah, I mean, with the team you guys have and the rebuild kind of entering the ending stages, I think it's okay for, you guys to be excited because you guys do have a good team. But before we get into the Cubs and Brewers, I want to talk a little bit about the NL Central. The Cubs are coming into the season, a 2-time reigning NL Central champion. The Cardinals added some fire in their lineup with Ozuna, and the Brewers are coming hot off the gate real early with a few come from behind victories like we just mentioned. And this division almost seems like it's a 2015 vibe around it, that there may be 3 teams really competing down the stretch for the division, or also maybe a wild card. We all know the Cubs, despite their slow start in the first week, are going to be good. We know the Brewers were going to be competitive last year, and this year, while adding Yelich and Kane, they're going to stay up there with us for a little bit. It's just facts. Now, I'm wondering, do you guys think the Cardinals will stay in contention in the division in the long haul? Mark, I'll start with you. What do you think the Cardinals are going to do this year?
I think the Cardinals will finish overall record-wise. They'll finish right around 500. I don't think that they're a serious threat to the Brewers and to the Cubs. I could see them hanging around through July, through a good part of August, but I just think that their lack of pitching depth and that the fact that they have a pretty old team, a lot of their players are old. Like Yadier Molina is not getting any younger. A lot of their guys. And also, I don't know if Tommy Pham is going to have another great year like he had last year. I don't know what's going to be happening there. But I don't think that they're going to really – I don't think they're going to break through. I think that their most realistic chance would be through a wild card, but I still see the Brewers and the Rockies taking the wild card. So I don't think they're a serious threat, I'll say.
Well, that's exactly what I've been saying, too. I think the Brewers and the Rockies may get the wild card this year, and I don't see – really the Cardinals being that big of a threat, but we all know the Cardinals are the Cardinals, and they will stay in it until they're not relevant anymore. Now, Mitch, your kind of perspective on the Cardinals this season.
Yeah, so I mean, my opinion might be a little bit swayed just because I watched them for 3 games and I was a lot more impressed at what I had initially thought. But the big thing to me when it comes down to the Cardinals is going to be their back end of their bullpen. Last night, obviously, their bullpen blew a save to us after the Yelich and Braun back-to-back homers. But I'm really interested to see what Greg Holland adds to the mix there. I think that's their biggest question mark. I think their offense is always going to be there. Marcell Ozuna took that offense basically to the next level. I think Paul DeJong is going to have another good year. He's another young superstar in the making. But their big question mark is going to be the back end of their bullpen. Their starting rotation's fine. Their offense is fine. But really interested to see how the back end of their bullpen turns out as the year goes on.
Yeah, Greg Holland's going to be a big addition for them in the long haul, closing down those games, just like they won't have a complete meltdown like they had last night in Milwaukee. Now, Mitch, like we said, you saw what happened last night with the Brewers, and we all know they're coming hot off the gate. Now, what are your early impressions on the Brewers so far a week in now?
Yeah, I mean, I know we're going to get into the Brewers starting pitching a little bit later, but my biggest question mark is I'm not trying to jump overboard. I see the fan expectations. I'm glad we're excited, but I do have some concerns going into the year, and that it all kind of surrounds around the starting pitching. I mean, Chassin pitched today, got rocked again for his second start. There was a lot of talk about what he could do outside of Petco. He pitched his first start in Petco, didn't look too hot, came out again tonight and didn't look too hot. Chase Anderson pitched yesterday, and there's a worry that I have with Chase Anderson. I don't know how close you guys follow the Brewers, but over the last year and a half, since about the middle of July 2016, he's been a top 5 pitcher in baseball, statistic-wise, and just when you watch him, he kind of carries that ace demeanor. But his velocity's down a little bit this year, and that was kind of the big jump that Derek Johnson, our pitching coach, had made with him, was working on mechanics to add velocity. When he's right, his velocity is up 93, 94, 95. This year to start the gates, he's 90, 91. So I'm not trying to buy too into the hype. I think our offense is going to keep us around. I think we're going to be in wild card contention, but this team's going to go with the starting pitching.
Well, yeah, and I think winning is contagious in baseball. And if you get on a stride, let's say in July or August, you get a few pieces, summer baseball, no matter where you are, can be exciting. And like you mentioned about Chase Anderson, his velocity dipping down, you've seen in the majors now that guys can work 89, 90 miles per hour and still be effective. Like you said, Chase Anderson's kind of toying with that. We know as Cubs fans, Kyle Hendricks, he rarely goes past 90. And he's like you said, he's still one of the best pitchers in the MLB statistically wise, his ERA. So, yeah, I mean, right now I feel like the Brewers are a team riding the wave, and with a young team like that, that's going to happen. And now, even though it's early in April, you kind of feel like the Cubs and Brewers rivalry is starting to heat up a little bit, with both teams prone to have success this year. It even kind of dated back to last year when the whole rain out situation happened, and then it didn't rain, and then the game still got canceled, and then the division race last year, and then now this offseason, social media, fans just going at it. So this weekend, the I-94 rivalry is back for a 4-game series for the first time in the 2018 season. Thursday through Sunday, we're going to see Lester versus Suter. We're going to see Hendricks versus Woodruff. We're going to see Darvish versus Davies, and Quintana versus Anderson. Now, that's some real good matchups there pitching-wise, especially on Saturday and Sunday when you see Darvish versus Davies and Quintana versus Anderson. So, I mean, now the Cubs bats haven't been nearly what we kind of expected after opening day in Miami. I mean, Ian Happ leads the game off with a homer, and we're kind of like, holy crap, we might be in for a good season. And then the rest has been very disappointing. They've struck out 58 times in 5 games, and they've been shut out twice in a row. But we knew as a Cubs fan that this Cubs team will strike out a lot with the young hitters we have. And I'm not too sure that we expected it to be this much. Now, Mark, I'm going to ask you. The Cubs come to Miller Park. Do you expect them to strike out like they have? Because they were in Miami, which is not a pitcher-friendly park. So talk to me. Because when you look at this Cubs team, and I know we talk about it a lot, the Cubs have real good hitters. What's your outlook when the Cubs come down to Miller Park offensively? Because we know that Miller Park is a very hitter-friendly park.
Well, I would just like to comment. You said how there were 58 strikeouts in 5 games. We might as well say there were 6 games, because people forget that there was a game that went to 17 innings. That game took forever. Everybody was tired. Strikeouts were happening left and right. So it really was 6 games, but we won't talk about that. Anyways, I expect the Cubs to be more relaxed, more patient at the plate, because I think that actually the fact that it got rained out yesterday, they rested today, I think that might help a lot, because they had 2 full days to kind of clear their heads and look back on the first couple series and go, wow, that was not what we were hoping for. And we talked towards the beginning that we wouldn't be surprised if we saw a lot of guys striking out. And people were trying to be the hero, run around second base, 2 outs. They weren't trying to get contact. They were trying to hit it as hard as they could. Javi, every single swing he has done, I swear he's falling down because he's just missing the ball because he's swinging so hard. And I love Javi Baez. I want to name my firstborn after him. But he's got to settle down, and so does Ian Happ. So does a lot of people. Rizzo as well. Rizzo needs to be doing a little bit better. But I think I'm not worried at all about them. It's just the start. People were trying to figure out what's going on. They had a successful spring training, trying to build on that. They're just doing too much. I expect them to really settle down and take a more balanced and patient approach at the plate. So I expect them to do a lot better at Miller Park.
And, one can only hope that they do. Now, I kind of want a Brewers fan's perspective on the Cubs, because And one that isn't telling me that Cubs baseball and their window is over, because you know everything the Cubs have done the past 3 years. I mean, it's the time for success for us is now, and I kind of just want an outlook from outsider. What you guys think about this Cubs team that we have?
Yeah, so just to backtrack a little bit here, a couple of weeks ago, I had tweeted my MLB playoff predictions, and I did have the Cubs going to the World Series. So I'm not one of those Brewer fans that's going to sit here and tell you that the Brewers are going to win the division. You know, the Cubs time's over, any of that. But the big thing for me with the Cubs is not so much Chris Bryant, not so much Anthony Rizzo. Those guys have the star power. They'll get there going. But the big ones for me are guys like Jason Hayward, guys like Javi Baez, guys that are in the bottom of that rotation or in that bottom of that lineup where if they can turn that lineup over to get back to guys like Chris Bryant and Rizzo with guys on base, I think that just leads to more success for the Cubs, and I think you'll see the offense go. So I definitely expect the Cubs offense to pick up. I'm just hoping it doesn't happen over these next 4 games.
Yeah, and for us, we're hoping it does, because I think, you know, if we lose this series in Milwaukee, you know, Cubs fans are going to go nuts on Twitter. Mark, you know, Cubs Twitter is full of hot takes right now,
Oh
but
my God.
it's ridiculous. But you know, if, like you said, you know, if you get Jason Hayward, you know, rolling offensively back to the hitter he was in 2015 with the Cardinals, which we thought we were going to get, that's only adding another star power, 298, 300 hitter. He won't hit a lot of homers, but he'll give you that on base presence. And like you said, get to guys like Chris Bryant or, you know, Rizzo in the top of the order and get some guys across the plate. But I mean, that's just adding another piece of this, you know, deep lineup that the Cubs have now.
No, one quick thing. Jason Hayward has always been the guy for me. He's been a top prospect coming up. He was a top pick in baseball. He's got this massive contract from Chicago. I think Chicago fans are just kind of waiting to be like, hey, where's that Jason Hayward that they saw early on in his career in Atlanta when he looked like he was one of the best top 10 players in baseball. So he's always the one guy when he comes to Miller Park, I'm like, please don't get going here. I know last year he had a big home run in the 8th inning that gave the Cubs the lead, and then again, too, he made a play where he jumped over the wall in the short right field fence at Miller Park late last year to steal a home run from Ryan Braun. So he's just one of those guys where if Hayward gets going, I mean, he's a scary hitter. He's a scary defensive player. So.
Yeah, and I was actually at that game at Miller Park when he robbed Ryan Braun's homer, and there's nothing better for a Cubs fan to see Ryan Braun slam his helmet after Jason Hayward just robbed his homer. But, yeah, exactly. And adding a guy like that is just – we're hoping he can get back to the hitter he was. And now, Mitch, I got to ask you something, my man. Yelich and Kane, the 2 biggest pieces in your offense right now, other than Ryan Braun, because we kind of knew what Ryan Braun has when he's healthy. He's a 290 hitter, 30 homer type guy. But we knew that Yelich and Kane were going to be good this season as the season went along and progressed. But did you really think that they were going to make this type of impact this early? Because Yelich 5-for-5 game the other day, and then he goes deep and ties it up last night on his last strike. I mean, these guys are making immediate impacts to your team, and the results are really showing. So what were your thoughts, you know, coming into the season, and were you expecting these guys to get hot right off the gate?
Yeah, I mean, to say I was excited is probably an understatement. I can remember January 25th where I was sitting on a bench in the gym, and I looked at my phone, and my phone was buzzing, and it was just text message after text message, and I'm like, hey, we just got Yelich. And it was kind of one of those moments where I'm like, who's punking me? I instantly went to Twitter. Sure enough, Ken, John, Heyman, all the guys are tweeting we got Yelich, and the emotion just hit me. I literally started, like, tearing up. Like, that's when you know you take baseball too far, when you see your team acquires a guy like Christian Yelich, and you just have so much excitement running through. So, I don't think I expected this good of a start from Yelich and Kane. I mean, I think I expected the offense to change a little bit. Last year we really struggled with getting guys on base, and then when we did get guys on base, we struggled getting them in. I think the consistency of Yelich and Kane being on base, you know, 360, 370 throughout the year, it's really going to change the lineup, and it gives opportunities to guys like Braun and Shaw and Santana to drive more runs in. So I definitely think the offense, even though it had times last year where it was really good, I think the ceiling's even higher this year with Yelich and Kane. So.
Well, like you said, it gives some guys some room to play at different positions. Like you can fit Ryan Braun in the everyday lineup, but not take a blow on the outfield. You can get Thames, the 220 hitter he was last year, out of that lineup for a few games and put Braun, who can, give you the extra push rather than Thames, who may strike out with guys on base. So it gives you a lot of options, and it kind of reminds me of a Cubs team that we have options. Maybe, we have a lot of outfield depth and we have a lot of infield depth. And for you guys have a lot of outfield depth, and you're trying to now convert, Ryan Braun to play the infield. And I'm not too sure where, Ryan Braun stands on that, because I know he said it was very uncomfortable for him. So hopefully, as he's a player, he can transition, because with him playing first base every day and being healthy, hopefully he can be for Brewers fans. That's adding another deadly piece to that lineup. So, I mean, man, it's going to be a fun year either way. Now, Mark, everyone's freaking out about the Cubs. People are saying the Yu Darvish deal was a mistake. The new coaches suck. We're doomed pretty much if you look at Twitter. But Chase Anderson had a pretty rough outing last night, his second time around, 4 innings, 8 hits, 4 runs, after just allowing 1 hit in 6 innings, on opening day. So, which ties me back to small sample sizes. Hitters and pitchers are going to have the rough days. Stanton just struck out 5 times and got booed in his first game in the Bronx. Next day, today, he goes deep and everyone's cheering. So, and I think with the season being so young, for fair weather fans, it's easy to draw conclusions. I mean, but the game of baseball, there's 162 games. Teams get hot. Players get hot, and things will turn around real quick. And things will get as cold as they are. So to make assumptions after a week's worth of playing, for me, it's very poor. Mark, now, what do you have quickly to say for the people that are freaking out and, making judgment after just seeing 2 weeks of a, ball the Cubs are playing? So talk to me a little bit about that.
If you're freaking out and if you're concerned about the Cubs, like legitimately concerned that the season's over, we need to be sellers. The Cubs the Cubs aren't good anymore. Championship window is closed. At me on Twitter so that I can add you to the list of people that are banned from the bandwagon in October, because I have that list and there are 3 people on there already. There are going to be stretches during the season where we go 2-3, where we lose a series, we lose games that we're not supposed to. That's what baseball is. I've been busy all day, so I don't know what the Dodgers did, but last time I checked, they were 2-3 also. They have had a rough start as well. Things happen. Baseball is a weird sport where things are going to happen that they aren't supposed to. And that's going to happen for the better, and that's going to happen for the worse. Exactly. It's been happening for the worst for the Cubs, but also if you look back on it, they lost 2 very close games in extra innings, in the game that went to 17 innings, and the shutout. They lost both those games that really could have gone either way. If those games go the Cubs' way, they're not 2-3. They're 4-1. Like it's so close. It's a game of inches. You cannot be making legitimate conclusions April 4th. Blows my mind. Blows my mind.
I think the biggest thing for Cubs fans, I think the only thing you would have to be concerned about this small sample size is moving runners over and runners in scoring position, because we've seen this narrative in 2015 and 2016. Well, not so much 2016, because, like Lester said the other day, it's unfair to judge these, future teams or the present teams about the 2016 season, because it's a whole different team. Nothing I don't think anymore is going to be a cakewalk, like a 30-game lead for the Cubs in 2016 there was. But, it's just, I mean, this year's a new year. I mean, the only thing that I would be concerned about and taking away from that series and versus the Reds as well is runners in scoring position, getting those guys over to first and second or second and third, or, getting them home, drive the ball, not strike out 2 times, It's just those little things can come back and bite you in the butt. Now, Mitch, bigger from the Cubs and outside of the Cubs, because I don't want to focus too much about them. Baseball, is a grind, 162 games plus October. So, like you said, you go 2 for 5 in baseball, and that's succeeding. And sometimes in basketball or other sports, that's really not the case. So when you talk about small sample sizes, how much do you invest in that?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's little things you can look at. Like, I mentioned Chase Anderson's velocity. I think that's a bit concerning just because you would think their arm's more alive early on in the year. And kind of as the year progresses and you start getting up there to 160, 170 innings per year, you can start to see a little bit of fatigue. But things like that, I look into a little bit. Like you said, the first 2 weeks, not too concerning. But there are trends that you start to see develop. And it's nice to get off the hot starts because the one thing that bothers me the most is when someone says, oh, it's only game 3, it's only game 4. It doesn't matter the way game 160, game 161 does. Well, if the Brewers lose to the Cubs by 1 game in the NL Central, these early games matter. So, like you said, there's trends. People get hot early, people get hot late, but I still think these games matter. So there are things that I look into, like Chase Anderson's velocity is one, but like you said, kind of law of averages play out and things will change. So
yeah. Exactly. And I know, now stepping away from this, and I know we've talked a lot about this, Mitch. The Brewers are a team with a good lineup, but each time I look at their staff, I have a little concerns in the long run. You cover the Brewers more than I do and stay more informed of the team than I do. Is the staff something to be concerned about, or could it become a concern down the stretch? Because I know Chase Anderson's good. I know Zach Davies has all the potential to be with all the wins he racked up last season. And for me, this is an analytics guy. I don't really like wins all that much. I think ERA and all that other stuff are what really matter. But the Brewers aren't getting Nelson back until June. And Wade Miley, I don't think, is a guy you want to rely on down the stretch. So talk to me a little bit about your staff and the outlook you have for them.
Yeah, so Stearns has put a lot of weight on guys like Chacin and Suter to perform throughout the year. So early on, there's a bit concern, especially from a Chacin perspective, because he hasn't looked all that well. His location's been off. He's been leaving a lot of his sliders up in the zone, and the Padres got after him, and the Cardinals got after him today. So the staff is concerning. However, I do think that Stearns has some tricks up his sleeve, and he has done a little bit of pre-work whether it would be a trade mid-season for a guy like Archer. I know his name came up a lot, and a lot of people are saying he's not leaving Tampa. The reality of it is Tampa's going to be down 20 games come trade deadline, so it just doesn't make sense for Tampa to hang on to Archer. So I would be wondering to see what that price tag is around the trade deadline. And then there's another team too that I've been following is Toronto. So Toronto's losing a lot of pieces at the end of the year. Donaldson's a free agent. J.A. Happ's a free agent. So I'm a big Stroman guy and would love the Brewers to throw some pieces at him. But even if they can't get him, a guy like J.A. Happ. So to say I'm concerned about the starting rotation might be a little bit of an understatement because we're relying on guys like Chacin and Suter. But I think the offense can carry them for a while, and then thinking Stearns might make a move come trade deadline. So,
yeah, and like I said, this stuff plays itself out later in the season. If you were to tell me last year at the beginning of the season that we would have had Jose Quintana, I would have thought you were lying because I wouldn't think that we were down and needed really that frontline center. But Theo, like you said, Stearns is a guy like Theo who are young and looking 10 steps ahead. And, he might make a move and pull something out of his sleeve to get another starter in that rotation because he knew that Jake Arrieta was pretty much gone. I think Cubs fans knew that, going into the 2017 season that this is Jake's last year as a Cubs. So let's make the best out of it. So, I mean, this stuff will play itself out and see how it plays out because there's stuff that both GMs can do in the midseason. I know the Cubs don't really have a lot of farm system pieces, but we saw some guys that have potential to be good coming up this spring. And I think that's the best thing about spring is seeing those young guys play that we wouldn't originally. So, a lot to do this offseason or midseason, offseason, all that stuff. So like we said, the Brewers and Cubs start a 4-game series tomorrow at Wrigley North. I actually mean Miller Park, sorry. But now looking at both two lineups, I'm going to go on the Cubs side of things. Mark, when you look at the Brewers lineup, who would you be careful to pitching it to or pitching around or, talk to me a little bit?
Obviously, Yelich and Kane, those are the names that they are going to get the attention, especially with the hot start they've had. Those are the names that you need to be aware of them. Santana as well, but the person that every time he's up to bat and every time the Cubs are pitching to him that my heart beats a little bit faster and I get uncomfortable and I usually say I hate this guy because of the home run is Ryan Braun. I hate the guy. I feel like he always kills the Cubs, and I wouldn't be surprised if he has a big series against the Cubs because that's just what he does. So
Yeah,
Those
dude,
four, especially Braun.
yeah, I mean, dude, the thing about Ryan Braun is he's a Cubs killer. Nothing will ever, I don't think, ever change that until the dude retires or gets out of the NL Central. So, I mean, I hate facing Ryan Braun because every time he's up, he's gonna do something crazy. But I'm really excited though because like the one guy that I didn't like facing is Kirk Neuenhuis. Dude, just killed
There's a name. There's a name. There's
it
a
was
name.
like it's just the name, and he's kind of like Scooter Gennett, where he's like that annoying little brother of yours who always does something good. I don't know. It's just something about him that just always killed the Cubs and everything else. So now, Mitch, you have to face, the Brewers have to face guys like Happ, Bryant, Rizzo, Contreras, and Schwarber off the bat, right off the gate. So who would you be careful pitching to in this Cubs lineup?
Yeah, so I touched on it a little bit earlier, and I'm going to stick with it. I'm going to ride with it. Jason Hayward's the guy for me that I feel like, one, whenever he comes to Milwaukee, he kills it here. And two, like I said, it's kind of about turning that lineup over for guys like Bryant, guys like Rizzo. They're going to get their hits, and I would rather have them get their hits when no one's on base. So if you see Hayward and Baez on base a lot, and then you have the pitcher bunt them over into scoring position, I think you'll see the Cubs score a lot of run. But I want to backtrack here a little bit. I want to go back to the Ryan Braun thing because I always find it funny where whenever he travels to Wrigley, it just feels like the boos are ringing in on him. He just seems to hit the ball farther and farther. So I'm just waiting for the game that Cubs fans go quiet when Braun's up just to see, one, his reaction because he's so used to it over the years, and two, just to see what his production's like because, like Mark mentioned, his production against the Cubs is unreal. I think his career average at Wrigley is like 340 something. So it just seems like the louder fans boo the farther he hits the ball. So
340 is like Jose Altuve type mentality. Like that's ridiculous. Now, Mitch, I got to talk to you, my man. You talked about Javier Baez, and we're gonna backtrack a little bit. September last year, 2 strikes. 2 strikes on Javier Baez. The game's almost done. Huge series at Miller Park. I don't know if you remember this all that much, and if you don't, it's okay. But the camera panned on a Brewers fan, and he said, "It's over. It's over." Next pitch, Javier Baez ties it up. We go into the 10th inning, and Chris Bryant hits not a walk-up, but go-ahead homer. I'm starting to feel like Miller Park's Wrigley Field here with all the Cubs fans. But that was one of the best games I've ever watched during the 2017 season. I love that game, just the mentality. Like the Brewer fans are kind of experiencing this now early on that, baseball is a lot of fun when you win. And when you have a young lineup that guys don't really press as much, they keep on riding the wave and, they're never going to quit. The Cubs had 29 walk-offs the past 3 years. So, I mean, it's going to be a fun year for baseball. But definitely Ryan Braun is always going to be a Cubs killer. As much as I do not like the guy, I can respect how good he is. I just have my differences with him as much as you hear every stadium going to boo him. So that's just what happens when your name is tied with PEDs, no matter if he did it or whatever it was. That's just how baseball works. So yeah, and as much as I want the Cubs to really sweep or take the series 3-1, and I think come Sunday after all said and is done, the Cubs and Brewers go out with a series tied 2-2. Quickly, Mark, give me your projections for the Cubs and Brewers series, and which game are you excited for most in this series?
Exactly what you said. I think a tie, and honestly, I'm okay with that. I'm fine with that because that's a step in the right direction at least. And I already gave the Mark Tellerico guarantee that the Cubs are winning tomorrow because they're pissed off. They're going to win. I know that they're going to win. I don't know when they're going to win after that, but I'm excited for tomorrow to happen because I know the Cubs are going to win. That's
let's just hope that, maybe you're a little wrong if they're going to tie. Let's hope they win on Friday and Saturday because I'm actually going to be down there. So let's just hold off on the winning for a little bit.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine too.
I want to watch some quality baseball. Now, Mitch, give me your projections on this Cubs Brewers series.
Yeah, so I think I'm going to stick with the trend here. I think I'm going to go 2-2, but for some reason, hopefully because I'm there tomorrow, but I think the Brewers get game 1. For some reason, the one guy in the Cubs rotation that I think the Brewers need to get after, it's John Lester. He struggled a bit last year. He had some injuries. I get that, but I think that's one guy where if the Brewers can get on base, he's had his hiccups with throwing over to first, and the Brewers seem to be a little more aggressive this year than they have in years past. So I think we get game 1. Guys like Hendricks seem to always pitch well against the Brewers, just like some crafty righty that doesn't throw all that hard, but just spots really well. So Hendricks seems to always kill us. And then whether it's Yu Darvish or Jose Quintana, I think both of those games will be fairly well pitched. But I'll go 2-2. I think the Brewers offense steals them a win either Saturday or Sunday, and then I'll take the Thursday win for Suter over Lester.
Yeah, and if there's one game that I would not feel confident, it's maybe the Lester game as well. I don't think necessarily the on base and stealing stuff really affects Lester because he's always had to deal with it, but definitely adding Kane on the bases and getting him around is definitely a little threat, I would say. And if you have Contreras behind the plate, he likes to throw down too, along with Javier Baez taking. So, but yeah, I mean, John Lester, we're entering a ballpark where home runs fly. So hopefully John Lester is on his A game. You hope. And I mean, we're really optimistic. I don't really know what we're going to expect out of John Lester this year. We hopefully can get 2016 John Lester back where he finished in the second in the NL Cy Young voting, but I just don't know. So there's some questions along with that. So now boys, I want to have some fun. So we're going to call this rapid fire. I have some questions, how this is going to work. I'm going to throw them at you and each one of you just answer quickly. Mark, I'll start with you. Ready, my man?
Yep.
All right. Question number 1. Javier Baez's tags or Kyle Schwarber bombs?
Kyle Schwarber bombs.
All right. Number 2, Chris Bryant or Nolan Arenado?
Bryant.
Nolan Arenado.
All right. Number three. If there's one ex-Cub you wish that was still on the team today, who would it be?
Starlin Castro.
Oh, I was thinking Dexter Fowler, my man. But Castro is very, he was a big part of this Cubs rebuilding. And I wish he would have got a ring. I wish he would have got a World Series ring. All right, so number 4, who hits more homers this season? Judge or Stanton?
Stanton.
Yeah, I think so too. What do you think, Mitch? Who hits more? Let's talk about that for a second. Who hits more?
Yeah, so I've been watching Stanton swing a lot lately, and it looks like he's literally trying to shoot the ball to right field. And if Stanton can get good at going the other way at Yankee Stadium with that short porch and right, he's going to have 68 homers this year.
Dude, I honestly wonder how much the dude can hit because it's ridiculous. All right, so number 5, is Bryce Harper a Cub opening day 2019?
For sure.
See you, Jason Hayward. All right, so Mitch, you ready, my man?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right, number 1, favorite year, 2008 Brewers team or 2011?
2008, CC Sabathia, easy.
Ooh, easy. Okay, I like that. Okay, so number 2, which MLB team blew a 3-1 lead in the 2016 World Series?
Indians.
Thank you. I needed a reminder. Number 3. All right, you got to sip one, you got to chug one, and you got to throw one out. We're talking Spotted Cow, Bud Light, or Coors Light. Which one you sipping on, which one you chugging, and which one you throwing out? Spotted Cow, Bud Light, or Coors Light?
All right, so I'm sipping on Spotted Cow. I'm throwing out Bud Light. I'm a Miller guy, Milwaukee. That's an easy. And then
chugging Coors
Light. Yeah.
All right. I guess I'll respect it. I guess I would have just sipped on some Bud Light. That's great. All right. Number 4, should the NL adopt the DH rule?
I mean, being a Brewers fan, yes, our pitchers have the worst time, whether it's at the plate running. The last 2 years, Guerra got hurt on opening day last year. Chase Anderson got hurt last year. Jimmy Nelson got hurt sliding back on the bag. So if we're not going to DH, that's fine. Then maybe we go back to Little League rules where we can get a pinch runner every time the pitchers gets on base. I'm just sick of seeing our pitchers go down, and then there goes our season because we are struggling at the plate to stay healthy from a pitcher perspective.
Right. Okay. So number 5, what is Miller Park's nickname when the Cubs come to town?
Miller Park.
Oh, that's nice to me. All right. No, Mitch, you were talking to me and you said you had some questions for us. So what do you have something for us?
Yeah. So I got a couple here. It's not gonna be as rapid fire, but I just want quick from you guys. Will the Cubs add someone at the break? Yes or no?
Yeah. I say the bullpen struggles a little bit, and I think we'll get some bullpen depth.
I could see bullpen. I could see bullpen. I don't think any huge additions like last year. Nothing huge.
Well, the only thing I think about that is because we don't have any concerns about like next year free agent in our starting ranking. So we're not going to go out and get like a Stroman or Archer like you were talking about. But no, I think if anything, it would be bullpen or maybe, only bullpen. Yeah. All right, next question. Throw it at us.
Agreed. If the Cubs don't win the division, who wins the division?
The Cubs are winning the division.
This is you have to answer. You have to pick one.
Brewers.
Yeah.
Brewers.
Thank you. Who is a key Cub player that the team needs to have a successful year for them to be successful?
Jesus, this is rapid fire. I got to think about this one.
I'll go Wilson Contreras.
I like Wilson Contreras, but I got to say Chris Bryant.
That's fair. And my last question is, what do you guys think? This doesn't have to be as rapid fire, but what do you guys think of baseball games starting this early? Just watching all the cancellations with us starting in the end of March. It's been moved up a couple days to try to get more off days later in the season. But what do you guys think of these early or end of March games?
I mean, for me, it doesn't affect you guys much at Miller Park as it does for the Cubs, because when we come back to town next week, the whole forecast is rain or snow. So opening day is going to be all snow for us, and I think it can affect these guys. Not only that, but the pitchers as well, because you're getting another off day. I mean, you're getting some extra rest, but sometimes you have to switch around your rotation to work with that. So I know it doesn't affect you guys as much like it does affect us, but like we said, we already had one rain out, and going from hot to cold from, down south to up north, I think it could affect some players somehow, sometimes. So that's where I stand. And I mean, it will be nice when you get in July and can give these guys another day or two off. But as right now, you're seeing how it can affect with some rainouts, some rain delays. Yankee Stadium, opening day, they had freaking 5 feet of snow there. So it definitely can affect it. Mark, what do you think?
I think that it's annoying for that kind of thing, but I've been to games in May where I've had to wear a coat because it was like 30 degrees at Wrigley. So there are going to be cold days. There are going to be rainy days. This could happen in April or May. So it all just kind of depends. I think that starting a week or so early, I don't think that's a huge deal. I'm for it because of the extra rest when it's 90 degrees everywhere.
I think it will be definitely beneficial for players down the stretch in July and August and stuff like that. Just right now, the struggle is kind of real. But okay, so Mitch, I got one more for you. Wilson Contreras or Yadier Molina?
Are we talking end of their career? Or are we talking right now?
Right now.
I'll take Wilson Contreras, even though I don't think he has the career that Yadier Molina has.
All right, well, we're going to end it on that note. Well, I want to take time to thank you, Mitch, for coming on the show and discussing this series with us. And if any listeners want to follow him, you can find him on Twitter at MitchellLeon13. And as always, thank you to my co-host, Mark. I'm Kyle Malzahn, and go Cubs.
Thanks, guys.